Talk. I'm Theresa Barron, your host, broker number 20100002720, licensed in the state of Ohio. And today, our guest, again, I had to bring her back. Y'all might have been able to see what she discussed on a previous episode, but I had to bring her back because there's just so much more to talk about. So today, I'm bringing back Stephanie O'Brien. Here she is. Stephanie.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Theresa, for having me on the show. I love Take a Look. If you guys really want to see where it's at, you need to come talk to these ladies. They're always on the pulse of the real estate industry. Yes, and guess what? I'm so thankful that you even could, get here today the second time. Listen, we're here to educate, inspire, and activate. We want to give you the tea. I'm going to let Stephanie today discuss things that have to do with investments. Listen, she's going to bring you some information on what's going on in the marketplace. Stephanie, take it away. Just let us know what's going on with your investments now. So to kind of, let everybody know, I have evolved into a whole different type of investing. So this market has been very, very challenging in a lot of different ways. For example, the interest rates going up, the values being so high, and buyers are getting sick of their offers being rejected. Right. So what is it that's inspiring you to get into this other investment that we're getting ready to spill? Well, when I started investing and I knew I had to hit the next level, and I personally could not afford to go out and buy a $500,000 house. Yeah, right. We still want those comforts, though. Absolutely. Yes. So what I did was about 8 months ago, I started to really take a look at tiny homes. Wow. Did you guys hear that? It's the tiny home thought. Now, I want you to elaborate. Please give people additional information about what is a tiny home. So tiny homes come in all shapes and sizes. Yep. A lot of people think tiny homes are basically a modular or a manufactured home or a trailer, for example. So tiny homes are way different. Yes. They are, there's about 25 different types of tiny homes. What I have learned about investing in tiny homes is that, you have to find affordable housing for people. Right. Our biggest challenge right now is we are priced out of the market. Girl, we see agents all the time. Right now, there are, in our marketplace, there are about 9,000 agents in Central Ohio. And just to give you some statistics and some ideas, each one of these agents are representing buyers in the marketplace. And they may have 5 or 6 buyers. And there's a problem, right? Because those buyers cannot find housing. You have to really seriously compete. And sometimes they're priced completely out of the market, and particularly in our marketplace. We're in the Midwest, but this thing is rolling all across nationwide. The country. Yeah, all across the country. According to the statistics, if I'm gonna drop some statistics, is that we are 2 million homes behind in terms of building. Absolutely. So what is this doing in terms of how's the tiny homes? How are we impacting with the tiny homes? So as we know, as the trends start, like Theresa already mentioned, we're in Ohio. We always watch the housing trends from the West. Yes. A lot like the trends in fashion. It starts in the West and then it comes East. Yes. So we're usually a little late to the party. But I will tell you what, the tiny homes, in my mind, based on the different types of tiny homes there are, you can do pole barn tiny homes. You hear all the time about the container tiny homes. You can do the shotgun shed tiny homes. Based on the amount of square footage that you want, there are very inexpensive ways. Right, the building cost. To build, absolutely. They're so much more affordable. Absolutely. You can tell us a little bit more about the affordability and what you think it's going to cost compared to the current market if you were to go into a standard build or an existing property. What's it going to cost you to get into a tiny home? What are you thinking? I will tell you this. Ever since the crazy market and how values have risen, we've all been looking for another source of living. Right. So I will tell you with the tiny homes, based on the research I've done, you can get into a tiny home in your own plot of land for less than $150,000. Okay. So, and that's built, ready to move in? That's built, ready to move in. The different types of tiny homes are normally based on the different types of lots you might have.
Exactly.
For example, I bought 6 lots when I sold my house. My goal is I have been a part of an affordable housing nonprofit for about 15 years. And the different affordable housing back then is way different than it is now.
Right.
Like you said, we're nationwide shortage of houses.
Right.
So, and this with the wood prices and how everything's going, it's very expensive to build a house.
Yes, yes, it is. It's crazy expensive. As a matter of fact, the builders, just the lumber itself is becoming an outrageous cost, and people are not able to necessarily even afford just to even get that permit and get things dug.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just getting really, really costly. So
with the tiny homes, they work a little bit differently.
Okay.
So there's a big misunderstanding with tiny homes. Everybody think tiny homes are like trailers.
Yeah.
They're not. Tiny homes are, like I said, there's 25 different types of tiny homes and way more. Right. Every day, I mean, look at Elon Musk. He is now investing in a house in a box, basically.
Boxable
houses.
Boxable, yeah.
So I think what's happening is even the big guys are noticing the housing shortage.
Right.
And starting in the West, what they're doing is they're using a lot of this for homeless, for a lot of the empty nesters.
Right.
The one thing that people have to understand is the different tiny homes are really, if you decide on a tiny home, you should decide on building it on your own lot if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing about the city lots that people don't understand is that you have a lot of zoning issues.
The zoning can be a problem, right?
So a lot of the big cities, you see a lot of this anywhere, everybody's moving to the outlying areas to get more inexpensive housing.
Exactly.
So when I started this journey into the tiny homes, what I learned is that you can basically build a tiny home for 0% APR on your own lot.
Wow. Okay. So are we talking about the financing then when you say 0%?
So that would be the financing to build the structure on your lot.
Yes. So how we get the money then, when we start talking about financing, we're talking about how do we get the money
to build
so that
the
we
house.
can actually build the house. And I think what you're saying is that we can go to the manufacturer.
Absolutely.
And what they will do is give us a loan, and that loan will help us to take care of
the structure.
Of the structure.
Exactly.
And what is the structure? The structure is the actual home that we're building. So
exactly.
that's where we get the money, right?
So I would just like to put tiny homes in layman terms.
Okay.
Everybody, like I said, I already think tiny homes are modulars or manufactured or they're mobile homes. They're none of the above. A tiny home start at 250 feet and go all the way up to 900.
250 square feet. So that's like maybe a 2-room home.
Right.
That's maybe 10 feet wide, 10 feet by 25.
Exactly, yeah.
Which gets you 250 square feet. And they have all of your living space. Some of them are very luxurious, just small living space. Everything is there, right there in that space, in that 10 by 25. Yep. So.
And it can go up to 16 by 50. I mean, and it just, what you have to think about with tiny homes, it's more about affordable living.
Right.
So think about how much wood prices have gone up.
Yes.
You can do a pole barn tiny home with a 2-car garage.
What's that going to cost?
I was doing some research in Texas, and with clearing of the woods and everything out of a lot, it was $120,000.
$120,000. Where can you get a whole house and a garage these days at $120,000? And what does that translate in terms of payment? What does that payment look like?
When you get everything, what people also don't understand is housing mortgages are based off of square footage.
Yes.
For example, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, or the governing bodies of who lends the money. Usually it has to be 400 square feet.
Okay.
So a lot of lenders, for example, a couple lenders in specific will do a one-time construction to close at the end.
Oh, okay.
So you can roll it all into like you do a construction loan.
Okay, so when you say one-time construction to close, so are we saying that's one loan?
One loan.
One loan. So you can get one loan and you can get it built and you can close it, and that is your
is your mortgage payment, just like you would a standard mortgage.
Okay.
Now that people, with all of the issues on financing on tiny homes, we've gotten very, very good at financing through the manufacturer.
Yes.
So what you do is when you roll everything together, whether it's the money you paid for the lot, you can roll it in together like a natural builder loan at the end.
Wow, Stephanie, you have really brought us some information. You spilling this tea. But here's what I would really like for you to tell me now that you've kind of given us the what we need to know about the tiny homes. Let me ask you, finish this statement. If I were to start over again, I am
an entrepreneur.
Okay, you are an entrepreneur.
I am an entrepreneur boss lady.
All right.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yes, I believe in defying the odds.
Okay, and tell us if you were speaking to yourself at 18 years old, as you know, we may have an audience out there that wants to know, what would you tell yourself if you were 18? How would you?
I would say that the little stuff doesn't matter and you can do it.
You can do it.
Look at the big picture.
Right. So, here's what we want to bring home to you. Number one, there is a housing crisis all over the United States. We're seeing it, from state to state, particularly, Ohio is a testing ground. We are a testing ground for a whole lot of things. And so what we're seeing, we're kind of what your middle America looks like. And see, when things go down here, we know that not only are we kind of middle America, it just kind of represents how things are going. It is you can almost stick a thermostat in it or a thermometer in it and know pretty much
Absolutely.
what's going on with the country. And what we're finding out is that, folks are telling us that they can no longer afford to, number one, pay regular rents, right?
Absolutely, rents are going up.
One bedroom here is running $1,100 for a one bedroom, right? And sometimes I'm even seeing folks do things like split the house.
Yep.
So we got day shift living and night shift living. Yep. I've seen people, put two families in one house. Half the family works at night, then they share the space, and the other half the family comes home during the daytime. So there's a lot of creativity going on, and these tiny homes could really represent an opportunity for people to own where they live, and we're all about owning it.
Absolutely.
Own where they live and also afford it and not have such a compromise.
And to be honest, Theresa, in this entire industry, between realtors, buyers, sellers, everybody needs something to look forward to or get excited about.
Yes.
We have been driven into our minds that value,
Right.
or we're priced out of with the interest rates.
Right.
This is a way to show people, whether you're an empty nester or a first-time home buyer or a small family, most people always congregate to the two biggest rooms.
Right.
Usually it's the kitchen and the living room.
There it is.
What's really cool about these houses is you've got a big general open area.
Yes.
Think about what the apartment complexes are doing.
Yes.
I live in an apartment complex for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath for $1,750 a month.
Wow.
So that's a lot of money.
Yes,
and that is in one of the very good areas of Columbus, but these rents are everywhere and people are struggling to hit that rent. Mm-hmm. If you can give them a place of their own, even if it's smaller with the nicer finishes, because the smaller the space, the higher the finishes, the cheaper it'll be.
Right.
So you can give somebody a house with granite countertops or quartz or the higher end, the patio barn houses on a budget that they want.
Right.
We're already doing this a lot. Look at what we're doing with around children's.
Yes.
We're building the new builds.
Yes.
This is just another way to let people pick a cheaper source. For example,
right. And just afford to live.
Exactly.
Because quality of life, it means something. Nobody wants to be house poor, right?
No.
And that's another whole subject. But we want to at least be able to have some affordability so that we can do quality of life things like take our kids on vacation, like not have to work that 40-40-40 schedule,
Yep.
which is work 40 hours a week for 40 years and then retire on 40%. We want to be able to stack some of that money and make sure that we're able to do quality of life. So it is about that freedom, right?
Yeah, and one thing I do want to reiterate on is now that the baby boomers
mm-hmm.
are, people like my own mom or
right.
somebody that lives on the west side and their house might be paid off.
West
side of Columbus.
And that is
it is the ghetto a little bit. Used to be the ghetto, now it's going up, but but
it's getting to be a nicer space.
Yeah, very nicer space.
Yes.
But for the people that are displaced like that, it gives them another place to go
right.
instead of, because a lot of people with lower houses that might be paid off don't have the money to go into assisted living, so it gives them a smaller space.
The one last thing I wanted to ask you, so we're a 4-season city here. So do you think that we'll be able to do as well as some of the cities that have more stable weather patterns where they have more 2 or 2.5 seasons where you don't get, all the snow or all the rain. Do you think that our zone or the zones around the country that actually have more weather patterns are going to do just as well with those tiny homes?
Absolutely.
All right now.
Absolutely, because just remember, and I'll leave you with this, a tiny home is based on square footage.
Yeah.
So when we say tiny home, it's basically smaller than 900 square feet.
Smaller than 900
So
square
that's
feet.
a lot different than like a tiny home that's on like a tow or something to pull it along.
Right. So we're not talking about those. We're talking about on solid real estate, on land, and creating a solid piece of real estate that will then very likely appreciate in value.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm so glad you came back.
Thank
I'm so
you for
glad
having
you
me.
came back. We are so excited to at least share this information. One last thought before we go. Go ahead and give our listeners, everyone, we're going to listen to Stephanie give us some tea.
I would say the biggest T would be number one, call Theresa Cray and her group.
Hold up. Let me make that clear. So I'm Theresa Barron, aka Mrs. Cray.
Yeah, so Mrs. Cray, I would say that the biggest T I can give you is find a realtor that is open to outside of the box thinking.
Right.
When it comes to real estate, talk to people and learn about the market, whatever market you want to go into. And I would say be motivated and then activate that motivation into making your dreams come true, whether it's home ownership or whatever it is.
Amen. Girl, I appreciate you. We're so lucky to have you. This is Theresa Barron. We are with the Real Tea Talk, and we're here to spill that tea. Again, my broker number is 2010-002720. We'll see you on the next one.